Back, everybody. It's been a while, but I'm back again so that we can get into the landmark Thucydides. Sorry for being gone again. I'm an indie author on the side, so when I'm not working, I'm trying to write stories. And I've been doing a lot of that lately, along with the usual insomnia, so I've been trying to catch up on sleep. So, we're back on right now. We're going to get into this and we're going to see what we can get into. Last time, I think we left off on really compelling speech. It was really like high up there, sort of kind of feel very arrogant, charming, strong speech given to the Athenians as to why they should get involved in the war. The Corcyaeans against, I think, the Spartans. It shows you how long it's been. I told you I haven't read this book before. I haven't looked at any of it during the 5 months or whatever since I did the last video. So I'm trying to call this right off the top of my head. So we left off last time with 1.36. I'm going to go ahead and start with 1.37, and we're going to see where we get from there. We finished with the Corcyaeans giving their speech. So now we're going to get into the speech of the, oh, it's the Corinthians. Sorry, I said Spartans. So we're going to see what they have to say to try to sway Athens. And I'll see if I can get through this whole speech today for this video. And hopefully you guys will circle back around and see what happens afterwards. All right, 1.37. Such were the words of the Corcyaeans. After they had finished, the Corinthians spoke as follows. These Corcyaeans in the speech we have just heard do not confine themselves to the question of their reception into your alliance. They also talk of our being guilty of injustice, and their being the victims of an unjustifiable war. It becomes necessary for us to touch upon both these points before we proceed to the rest of what we have to say, that you may have a more correct idea of the grounds of our claim, and have good cause to reject their petition. According to them, their old policy of refusing all offers of alliance was a policy of moderation. It was in fact adopted for bad ends, not for good. Indeed, their conduct is such as to make them by no means desirous of having allies present to witness it, or of having the shame of asking their concurrence. Besides, their geographical situation makes them independent of others, and consequently the decision in cases where they injure any lies or not with judges appointed by mutual agreement, but with themselves, because while they seldom make voyages to their neighbors, they are constantly being visited by foreign vessels which are compelled to put into Corcyra. In short, the object that they propose to themselves in their specious policy of complete isolation is not to avoid sharing in the crimes of others, but to secure a monopoly of crime to themselves, the license of outrage wherever they can compel, and of fraud wherever they can elude, and the enjoyment of their gains without shame. And yet, if they were the honest men they pretend to be, the less hold that others had upon them, the stronger would be the light in which they have put their honesty by giving and taking what was just. All right, Karens are crooks. But such has not been their conduct either towards others or toward us. The attitude of our colony toward us has always been one of estrangement, and is now one of hostility, for, say they, we were not sent out to be ill treated. We rejoin that they did not found the colony to be insulted by them, but to be their head, and to be regarded with a proper respect. At any rate, our other colonies honor us, and we are very much beloved by our colonists. And clearly, if the majority are satisfied with us, these can have no good reason for a dissatisfaction in which they stand alone, and we are not acting improperly in making war against them, nor are we making war against them and without having received severe provocation. Besides, if we were in the wrong, it would be honorable in them to give way to our wishes. That's interesting. If they're in the wrong, it would be honorable for the Kikirans to give in to them. All right. But in the pride and license of wealth, they have sinned again and again against us, and never more deeply than when Epidamnus, our dependency, which they took no steps to claim in its distress, upon our coming to relieve it, was by them seized and is now held by force of arms. As to their allegation that they wish the question to be first submitted to arbitration, it is obvious that a challenge coming from the party who is safe in a commanding position cannot gain the credit due only to him who, before appealing to arms, in deeds as well as words, places himself on a level with his adversary. In their case, it was not before they laid siege to the place, but after they at length understood that we would not tamely suffer it, that they thought of this specious word arbitration. And not satisfied with their own misconduct there, they appear here now requiring you to join with them not in alliance, but in crime, and to receive them in spite of their being at enmity with us. But it was when they stood firmest that they should have made overtures to you, and not at a time when we have been wronged and they are in peril, nor yet at a time when you will be admitting to a share in your protection those who never admitted you to a share in their power, and will be incurring an equal amount of blame from us with those in whose offenses you had no hand. No, they should have shared their power with you before they asked you to share your fortunes with them. The last line's a pretty good one. I'm not sure if they're right about saying the Corcyaeeans are just complete and utter criminals, that there's some sort of Legion of Doom. Uh, but also a lot of their argument is that, they probably didn't think this in ancient times, but I guess from a modern span, this is sort of like, well, we're colonizers, but we're good colonizers. So, you know, can't blame us. Are other colonies like us? We're now up to paragraph 1.40. So then, the reality of the grievances we come to complain of and the violence and rapacity of our opponents have both been proved. But that you cannot equitably receive them, this you have still to learn. It may be true that one of the provisions of the treaty is that it shall be competent for any state whose name was not down on the list to join whichever side it pleases. But this agreement is not meant for those whose object in joining is the injury of other powers, but for whose need of support does not arise from the fact of defection, and whose adhesion will not bring to the power that is mad enough to receive them war instead of peace, which will be the case for you if you refuse to listen to us. Very thinly veiled threat. For you cannot become their auxiliary and remain our friend. If you join in their attack, you must share the punishment which the defenders inflict on them, and yet you have the best possible right to be neutral, or, failing this, you should on the contrary join us against them. Corinth is at least in treaty with you. With Corcyra you were never even in truce. But do not propose the principle that those defecting from others are to be welcomed. Did we on the defection of the Samians record our vote against you, when the rest of the Peloponnesian powers were equally divided on the question whether they should assist them? No, we told them to their face that every power has a right to punish its own allies. Why, if you make it your policy to receive and assist all offenders, you will find that just as many of your dependencies will come over to us, and the principle that you establish will press less heavily on us than on yourselves. This, then, is what Hellenic law entitles us to demand as a right. But we have also advice to offer and claims on your gratitude, which, since there is no danger of our injuring you, as we are not enemies, and since our friendship does not amount to very frequent intercourse, we say ought to be liquidated at the present juncture. When you were in one of ships of war for the war against the Aeginetans, before the Persian invasion, Corinth supplied you with 20 vessels. That good turn in the line we took on the Samian question, when we were the cause of the Peloponnesians refusing to assist them, enabled you to conquer Aegina and to punish Samos. And we acted thus at crises when, if ever, are wont in their efforts against their enemies to forget everything for the sake of victory, regarding him who assists them as a friend, even if thus far he has been a foe, and him who opposes them as a foe, even if he has thus far been a friend. Indeed, they allow their real interest to suffer from their absorbing preoccupation in the struggle. Now at 1.42. Weigh well these considerations. Hmm. And let your youth learn what they are from their elders, and let them determine to do unto us as we have done unto you. And let them not acknowledge the justice of what we say, but dispute its wisdom in the contingency of war. Not only is the straightest path, generally speaking, the wisest, but the coming of the war which the Corcyaeeans have used as a spectre to persuade you to do wrong is still uncertain, and it is not worth while to be carried away by it into gaining the instant and declared enmity of Corinth. It were rather wise to try and counteract the unfavorable impression which your conduct to Megara has created. For kindness opportunely shown has a greater power of removing old grievances than the facts of the case may warrant. And do not be seduced by the prospect of a great naval alliance. Abstinence from all injustice to other first rate powers is a greater tower of strength than anything that can be gained by the sacrifice of permanent tranquillity for an apparent temporary advantage. It is now our turn to benefit by the principle that we laid down at Sparta, that every power has a right to punish her own allies. We now claim to receive the same from you, and protest against your rewarding us for benefiting you by our vote by injuring us by yours. On the contrary, return us like for like, remembering that this is that very crisis in which he who lends aid is most a friend, and he who opposes is most a foe. And for those Corcyaeeans, neither receive them into alliance in our despite, nor be their abettors in crime. So do, and you will act as we have a right to expect of you, and at the same time best consult your own interest. Such were the words of the Corinthians. That is far and away a great difference from the loftier, wordier, uh, I think I used the word charming earlier when I started this video, more charming, more grandiose verbiage put out by the Corcyaeans in their speech. This one is much more pragmatic, much more down to earth, much more gritty, and the threats are there's at least a threat, if not a veiled threat, every paragraph. I mean, they're pretty much saying, look, either just stay neutral or join us or get lost. And they literally just came to their home court saying this to them. I wonder now if treaties or nations going to another nation to perhaps side with them to get an alliance or something, pre-war or during a war. I wonder if they all then and even now had the same kind of talk. Like I'm sure there's a lot of charismatic talk because that's politics. But I wonder if there's a lot of like, well, we need to fight this nation, this foe, and you could help us, but you're better off just staying neutral because if you don't, you're our enemy for life. I wonder. This has me thinking now. But yeah, two completely different versions. Two nations, completely different, at odds with each other, about to throw down, and they have completely different ways of trying to draw in Athens. One by friendliness, almost bardic, bardic poetry, and the other one by just uh, straightforward street tone. So that was that for today. I think I just stopped. Next time it would be starting at 1.44, which I'm assuming is going to be the Athenians responding. And I honestly can't wait to see what that's going to be because I have no idea what the outcome is. Scholars who know this would know this is my first time reading this. I don't know how this goes. So this is just like a TV show in writing. Waiting for the next episode. We left on a cliffhanger. We've got the two sides waiting. The Athenians are sitting there looking. I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm eager to find out. I hope you are too. I hope you grab a copy of the Landmark Thucydides at some point and dig into it. Don't worry if you get way ahead of me, because you see how long I take to do a video. I just want you to get into it and enjoy it because this stuff is hot. It's awesome. And it makes you think about the sameness and differences between then and now. How little things have changed, how much things have changed. And I just find it completely fascinating. So, yeah, I will hopefully see you all next time. We'll start and we'll find out next time what the Athenians think about this. Let me know what you think about this video. Um, so I know my lighting is off. I've toyed around with it quite a bit and it never seems to look right to me. But let me know. Let me know what you think about Thucydides if you know anything about him, um, ancient history, anything else. And I will catch you guys on the flip side later.